Human trafficking is one of the most lucrative business globally, raking in billions of dollars annually, and it victimizes millions of people around the world.
Human trafficking is a supply chain. It's a cycle that never ends.
Most of the world, sadly, is still waking up to the reality that we have been forced to recognize through experience, and that is trafficking and slavery are now emerging as the world's greatest and fastest growing threat to fundamental human rights throughout the world.
Really, honestly, this modern-day slavery is a global epidemic.
We have to learn about it and spread information about it so that we know what we're up against, right? This is going to be a long battle to stop and end human trafficking, but it can be done if we all bond together.
So I stand here today to continue to advocate and fight for human trafficking. And may we continue to always realize and remind each other that we are worthy of our personal goals and our personal dreams. Well, hello everybody. My name is Gabriel, and if you can see, my sash says I am Miss Universe. I am very thankful to be the current reigning Miss Universe and an advocate for human trafficking. Before I was Miss Universe, I was Miss USA, and before that, I was Miss Texas. When I had those titles, I was living in Houston, and I was working for an organization called Magpies and Peacocks. And this is a nonprofit organization. It's actually a couple of things. We're a sustainable fashion house, but we also intertwine fashion with community outreach. And I was blessed with the position to be a sewing instructor with our program that teaches sewing classes to women of Houston that have survived from human trafficking and domestic violence. And this was funded by the Mayor's Office of Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence with the whole idea of giving a program to those in need, the most vulnerable communities, a way of learning a useful skill in life to build confidence, to give education, a sense of community. And I was doing this all the way until I went and competed at Miss Universe and then moved to New York. But I built a relationship with these women. It went well beyond just the sewing classes and teaching a new skill. These women taught me so much. Their strength, their tenacity really showed me that community and support is so important. There's so much power in having programs that are hands-on, like that program back in Houston, like APAIT, and so many other organizations. So I'm very honored to be standing here today, and we must continue to be that support system for others. Continue to fight against human trafficking and domestic violence in the most vulnerable communities.
What is the current state of human trafficking globally and in California?
It just keeps growing, unfortunately, and that's sad. And so it's hard for all of us to keep up. Back in 2005, it was somewhere between 600,000 and 800,000, but possibly as many as 4 million men, women, and children worldwide were bought, sold, transported, and held against their will in slave-like conditions. And then the International Labor Organization is yet another source, which is part of the United Nations agency. They estimate that there are 12.3 million people enslaved in either a form of forced labor, bonded labor, forced child labor, sexual servitude, and involuntary servitude at any given time.
It is really a supply chain that we're looking at. It's a business model and a supply chain. And instead of products, they're supplying human misery. This is a global phenomenon, and it's a complex, and it occurs in several stages. You have the recruitment stage, you have the movement stage, which is commonly known as a grouping stage. And then you have the site of work. And then there's always a financial nexus that connects all three stages together. Now, what do you do as somebody who can stop that? The cycle here is that supply chain here. If you offer somebody another job or an opportunity to get out of that cycle, it doesn't matter what, as long as you break that cycle, that chain, you're able to make a difference in that person's life.
And so in the trafficking movement, when we began, we talked about the 3 Ps, right? And I think that's still sort of is what we still try to push for today, right? It's protection, prosecution, and prevention. So, as much as we can do all of that, then we're taking the right step.
So I think the beauty of this model is we not only serve the survivors in a more efficient, more trauma-informed way, but we also create a platform that we can grow and we can learn from each other.
Use your voice. I mean, as Miss Universe, I can use my voice, but also providing and supporting programs like these, calling on our government to continue to fund the hands-on programs like these that are life-changing. It's one thing to help somebody, but it's another thing to invest daily, weekly, and monthly on that pathway to a new life.
Really, honestly, this modern-day slavery is a global epidemic. So we're grateful that you all are here to listen about this, and hopefully we can participate in that dialogue and be part of that change on anti-human trafficking.